All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Masters of the Universe Masterverse Revelation Trapjaw. Yeah, this is one of the larger sets of Masterverse. I don't know, are these called Deluxes as well? I know in Origins they're called Deluxes. Basically, the figures that cost a little extra and come with a bunch of extra accessories. It's the same sort of concept, regardless of whether or not they're actually called Deluxe. It's that same sort of idea. Basically, he's the same size and, general functionality of every other Masterverse figure. He just costs $10 more and comes with a bunch of extra stuff here. And yeah, he looks pretty good. He's got a nice head sculpt there. One thing that's kind of strange about his head sculpt is if you open his jaw, he's got kind of an ugly sort of thing hanging out under there. I'm pretty sure what went wrong here is everything below the teeth, I think, is supposed to be just like all red, like his, actual, organic lower jaw was just ripped off and he's just got like a tongue hanging out here and then he's got his robot jaw. But maybe they decided that was a little bit too gruesome for a kid's toy or maybe they just misinterpreted the sculpt. I don't know. And they decided to paint everything underneath the tongue green, which makes it look like he's got a really weird sort of like wimpy little chin, like pointy chin, which doesn't look particularly good. I think that this would be remedied if you just like took some paint and again like painted everything below the teeth line, like kind of a dark maroon or something to match the rest of the inside of the mouth. But as is, if you open his mouth like that, looks really stupid. And like they package him like this too, like with the mouth open like that, which I think is just kind of a bad call because like it almost made me not want to buy the figure for a while before I saw that like, with his mouth closed, he looks just fine. But yeah, it's kind of a weird thing, sort of a either misinterpretation of a sculpt or one of the sculptors making it a little bit too gruesome and then they had to dial it back and make it look dumb. I don't know, it's kind of awkward, but otherwise the head sculpt looks good. Although I will say, I think it's kind of hard to see, but I think the tampo for the eyes on mine, the right eye looks like it's a little bit in the wrong place, but you hardly notice that when you're looking at it from most angles. But yeah, other than that, he looks pretty good, pretty typical Revelation, Masterverse sculpt here. He shares a lot of parts with actually not as many parts as a lot of figures. I think the hands we've seen before on a variety of different figures. The upper arm is the same as He-Man's. The sort of like midriff here section is the same as He-Man's. And then the whole loincloth area is the same as He-Man's. What's kind of funny is he's got his, typical Trapjaw, skull belt here, but it's actually just like on top of the He-Man belt and doesn't even cover it like all the way. So you can see parts of that there. Not really a big deal. It's just kind of funny. In terms of articulation, he's got pretty typical, Masterverse articulation. He's got the double ball joint at the head there, so you can kind of bounce his head back and forth. He's got a bit more of like a hunchback sculpt in his body than a lot of them do. Like his neck, oh my gosh, words, juts a lot forward. Part of that is to accommodate, this piece when we put that on. But yeah, I don't know. I guess the Revelation version of Trapjaw is just a bit more of a hunchback. Like you can push his head back so he stands up a bit more straight, and kind of, this is really as far back as that body goes. So yeah, he's always a bit of a hunchback, which is not a huge deal. But the shoulders can rotate all the way around on both sides. He can bring his arm up to the side like that. He's got a bicep swivel. He does have a double jointed elbow, although the lower part at least on this arm is so stiff that I can't get it to move. So effectively, he doesn't really have a double jointed elbow, at least on my copy. Now on this side, it just uses a single hinge, but just because of the way it's sculpted, it's nice and deep. He's got a wrist, I guess you would call it, swivel here at the gun attachment. Of course, he's got the two other hands there, but and then standard wrist articulation. He's got the swivel and then that separate hinge in there. He does have that upper joint, like that cut, which on him I don't think accomplishes a whole lot because it only goes back that far, and then forward it just kind of like bumps into the belt here. So you don't really get a ton of movement out of that, but it is there. He has a waist cut. The hips can go forward and back as far as the rubbery, loincloth allows for, and out to the side. And thankfully, unlike a couple of the other origin Masterverse figures I have, he doesn't have that issue where the hip gets stuck out to the side. It's very smooth and it works super nicely. He's got a thigh swivel, although it does have a lot of sculpted and painted detail that really conspicuously gets broken up by the swivel, but that's pretty standard action figure affair. He's got a double jointed knee, which gets a really nice curl into it. Very nice deep knee bend. He has a boot cut right below the knee that only gets about that far. And then also, he's got his big knee pads here, which, don't look super great when they're tilted in, but whatever. And then the feet can go back and forward. And then he's got that same Masters of the Universe thing where the swivel is tied to the ankle tilt. So when you swivel it, it also adjusts the angle of the ankle. On mine, one thing that I noticed is like this leg looks fine, but this leg, the foot doesn't actually line up with the leg at all. It always kind of sits out to the side. And then if you want to adjust it to go the other way, then his ankle is tilted the opposite direction. I'm wondering if maybe on my copy he's got two left feet. Literally, like I can't totally tell. The sculpts are look relatively symmetrical anyway, so it'd be kind of hard to tell. But I'm wondering if the pin is just at an angle this way, and because he's got the wrong foot on there, it makes it go the opposite direction. It's not a huge deal, and it kind of fits with the aesthetic of this whole slightly more zombie trap jaw with his discombobulated jaw there. He also has a bit of a gimpy leg. I don't know. I think it works well enough. It looks a little bit weird when he's just standing still because when one of his feet is all the way out to the side, but it's not a huge deal. And again, that might just be my copy here. So the thing that makes him one of these deluxe figures and costs an extra $10, which is a little rough, but is because he's mimicking his extra outfit from the Revelation cartoon, where him and Trapjaw had the whole techno cult in Skeletor's absence, which was one of my favorite parts about that show. I thought that was a really, really neat concept of them starting this techno cult without Skeletor around. I thought that was really funny. So he's really meant to be kind of a companion piece to the, again, Deluxe Masterverse Triclops, which I don't have that figure yet. I'm not overly fond on the extra more expensive Masterverse figures, just because it's a bunch of extra stuff, but regardless if I have it on or have it, some stuff is just going to sit in the box. You only get to display it one way, and that's not really a Masters of the Universe complaint as it is a typical action figure complaint. Is oh yeah, you get all this money you have to pay all this extra money for some options, when at the end of the day you're only going to use one option and display it on the shelf that way. So I don't know. I got him on sale, so maybe if I find Triclops on sale as well, then I'll pick him up. But for now, this is the guy that I got. So yeah, you can give him his whole sort of techno cult outfit. You have to take his belt off because otherwise it doesn't. The new belt doesn't fit on over all the extra stuff if you have this on there. Then obviously you've got to remove his head, and then this bit is actually a bit of soft goods. It's like an actual fabric, and it's got some Velcro in the back, so you can play kind of playing dress up with Trapjaw here. You just have to feed it through on both sides, and then lace it up in the back with the Velcro. I like this look. He's just wearing a dress. He looks kind of pretty. And then you take this whole section here, which is not soft goods. This is rubber, and that goes on over his neck there. And then you take this belt, and again, you need this to not be there, otherwise the extra plastic won't allow this belt to clasp, because you want to actually clasp it over everything, and then hook it up in the back there. And then obviously put his head back on, and there you have Trapjaw in his cult uniform. And it's a pretty good look. It doesn't really change much about the articulation. The only thing is the head is a little bit more limited into this hunching position because it's kind of stuck within that hole, but that's okay. I think it looks pretty good. Again, personally, I'm just going to display him as like an updated trap jaw. So just like without all the extra stuff on there. Jeez, motorcycle in the background. That was really loud. Uh, the extra accessories are kind of lost on me because they are just going to be going into a bin, but either way, it looks good, and I think he would make for a good display with that deluxe triclops as well. But yeah, maybe I'm not getting the most use out of it, but I think it does look good. The other thing is that it kind of prevents him from really opening his jaw a whole lot, just because of how cramped his head is in the new space. Which again, with him is fine, since the look with the jaw open doesn't look that good anyway. But worth mentioning. But yeah, we can just take off all this stuff and get him back to his regular outfit here, so we can show off some of the extra hand accessories. All right, come on. There we go. We'll just put all that stuff off to the side and put his regular belt back on here. So he does come with a variety of extra hands, as trap jaws are wont to do. For his left hand, he just comes with two. He comes with this flat open hand, which we've seen a few times, and then he comes with a holding things hand. He doesn't actually come with anything to hold. I mean, I guess you could have him like hold the hook, like he's about to put on the new one of his new like arm attachments, but I don't know. I think it's mostly just included so he can hold the accessories from other figures in the line, which is fine. But personally, I prefer him with the flat open hand. And then, of course, he comes with his other mechanical arm attachments. This is the one he comes packaged with, just like the gun arm. Mine is a little bit warped, which kind of sucks, but whatever. And then you just pull it off here at the wrist joint. Of course, he's got his hook hand. Both the hook hand and the claw hand have this nice thing going on where there's actually some continuity in the sculpt there that kind of lines up that little line there. I think that looks pretty good. And then probably my favorite of the three for this Trap Jaw figure is his mean looking claw there. I really like the look of that. I like his weird sort of, bigger kind of bug mandible claw. I think that looks cool. I will say I sort of prefer it when Trap Jaw has, when one of his arms is like when his mechanical arm is larger than his regular arm. Just because like these are proportionately similar, like, the elbows are in the same place, the wrists are pretty much in the same place, which I guess just because I'm used to seeing him with like a huge mechanical arm, I think that it makes his mechanical arm look a little bit like wimpy in comparison. It's not a big deal, just like, I don't know. I prefer it when it's at least a little bit bigger, just because like his wrist ends here, so it kind of looks like he's just got, a stump, which makes sense, but I don't know. I sort of prefer it when the claw or the gun or the hook are like bigger and kind of out to the side, but that's just me. In terms of comparisons, here he is with Masterverse He-Man and Skeletor, just so you can see what he looks like with them. Here he is with Origins He-Man and Skeletor, obviously a different scale there. For the standard size comparison, here he is with a Deluxe Transformer, his Kingdom Sideswipe. So you can see, they're pretty tall action figures, the Masterverse line. And then the real fun comparison is here he is with Origins Trap Jaw, just so you can see what he looks like with him. And yeah, obviously much more kind of muted, realistic colors, whereas he's got like the bright greens and pinks and everything like that. But this is also what I'm talking about with his, mechanical arm is just huge in comparison to his normal arm, which I don't know. I kind of prefer that look of him just having like an absurdly ridiculous big arm, but either way, they still look pretty good. Now, the Origins guy actually has like these belt loops to put the extra ones on, and he does have that. He's got little loops on the side here, but unfortunately, they're like right on the side. So like in terms of clearance, you can't really like when you put them on there, they kind of bump into the legs a little bit, which in turn stretches out the hook that they're attached with. And then they also kind of awkwardly sit in front of his arms. Whereas if you look at the Origins version, they sit, behind slightly. So they're kind of out of the way. And I think that works a lot better. In the Revelation cartoon, I think that he didn't really have different attachments. His arm just like straight up transformed. So like, it doesn't make as much sense to have them kind of on his belt anyway. But I don't know. I would have preferred if they could kind of store back here like they can on the Origins version, but that's not the end of the world because he does have a much cleaner look when you've just got one of the hands on there. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to him. He's a good Origin or a good Masterverse figure. I think he looks really nice on the shelf. My only issues with it are, well, one, the price point. I don't know. I think for the bigger kind of deluxe Masterverse figures, are they called Deluxe? I don't know. Just like they are in Origins, I don't know. I think I'm generally trying to wait till I can get them on sale before I pick them up, just because, like, at the end of the day, once they go on my shelf, they're effectively the same value as my, other Masterverse figures, which cost $10 less. And I don't know that, like, this amount of stuff, when regular Masterverse figures come with a few things, is really worth $10. I don't know about that. So I think that, I got him on like deep sale for 15, and I think that's a great deal. Obviously, it's less expensive than the regular Masterverse figures, but I don't know. I'm not as invested in the Masters Universe Masterverse line to want to buy all these extra more expensive figures, but he does look good. I will say the one gimpy leg on mine is kind of a bummer, and now that I'm looking at it, I'm pretty sure that he must just have 2 left feet, which is fine. It doesn't look too bad. It's just kind of an annoyance. If you're like really looking for symmetry, I guess. And the whole weird sort of mouth thing, I think, is not that great. The head sculpt there, I think it would look a lot better, and I might do this, go and paint the lower jaw maroon so it looks like he's just got a completely disconnected lower jaw. But for now, at least with his head closed, I think it looks just fine. But yeah, other than that, he's a pretty nice looking figure. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Masters of the Universe Masterverse Revelation Trapjaw.